Every part of my life is on Notion, and today I'm going to show you exactly how I have integrated this incredibly flexible and powerful tool into every part of my life. There are three main parts we're going to talk about, which is how I use it for university, how I use it for content creation, and how I use it personally. The university part can be divided into how I use it as kind of like a Wikipedia, how I use it to study for exams, and how I keep track of my thesis. The content creation part, we're going to talk about how I use it for the website, for YouTube, and the podcast. And finally, in my personal life, we're going to talk about how I use it to keep track of chores, expenses, and budgeting, and I guess like connections. This part's going to be hard to explain, but it'll make sense when you watch it, I promise. Let's start with university because I know that's the part that you're most interested in. The university dashboard starts out with any reminders or things that might be due. I explained how this works in a different video, which I'll link at the end of this one if you're interested in seeing more about that. I then have it quickly broken down by years and subjects so that I can quickly jump and see anything relevant based on what I need. So for example, let's take a look at the third year dashboard. These are quite cool because I can see an overview of their timetable and exams, and this is handy even if it's not my current year because, for example, I started a mentoring program for the incoming first years, of course pre-COVID, so it would have been really nice to just take a look at their timetable to know how I was going to plan like social activities and open days and other things with them if I needed to. Also, I hang out a lot in their group class chats in case they have any questions, and you know, it's really nice to be able to look at their subjects and exam timetables and tailor response and advice accordingly. So it's just really nice to like click on a year dashboard and get like a bird's eye view of everything. It's also really nice to see the different exam dates for the subjects because despite currently being in 5th year due to the train wreck that is the Italian system and also my personal life, not going to lie, I'm currently playing catch up with a few subjects from previous years. So when I'm planning my exam session, because we're able to schedule our exams, I can see the dates that I need to catch up on and kind of like tailor my personalized plan accordingly. What's cool after the exam dates is that I can see all of the subjects, I can see all of the important contact information for that year, but also what are the books that are recommended, and the best and coolest part is basically every professor that teaches in that year. So I know what all of them look like, I know what their numbers are and what their office hours are and where I can find them if I need to like quickly contact them. This is also a part of a massive project that I'm working on with a few other students, and it's going to transform our course, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it's going to be cool and there's spoilers, but yeah, let's move on. If I click onto a subject, say Anatomy 1, it opens the subject dashboard, and here I can see any important codes. For example, before we're allowed to sit an exam, we have to fill out a feedback form for a professor, and this is where I will find the codes. I also put the exam date, there's the syllabus, and most importantly, there is a collection of every single resource for that class. So if it's like a lecture slide, a transcript, or even a recording now that we're in COVID, it will be in this master database. I even, like when I'm done with a subject, I export my Anki deck and I upload it here into this part so that all of the subject resources stay together. And even if I come across a cool article or video that's related to the subject, I use the Web Clipper add-on and also add it to this database. And here it's broken up by like if it's high yield, so if it's asked a lot in an exam, which professor it is and what type of like resource it is, and yeah, and here are my flashcards. I also take notes within each of these using toggles and questions and integrate them into Anki flashcards. But I think I'm gonna make a way more detailed video on how I use everything and bring it together to like most efficiently study for my exams in medical school. So I'm not gonna go into a detail here. I'm going to make a way more detailed like super how I efficiently study and integrate everything in medical school video. Finally, I have a thesis master database. I've had a rough idea about what I want to write my thesis on, even if I don't know what the exact topic is. So for the last few months, every time I come across something interesting that I think might be even like slightly relevant to what I want to write it about, I use the Web Clipper tool or even use like backlinking to attach it to this database. So I collect everything that I come across, and I just think this is really nice because I'm not going to be starting from zero. Like when I finally get my topic, I'm going to have already a list of resources and things that I can reference and start. So it's not going to be starting from zero because I've been like collecting this list and growing it for a few months now. So yeah, it's just a really nice like database of references and interesting leads. Let's move on to content creation now, which is a huge part of my life that I am massively passionate about. And honestly, it's just completely changing how I've been imagining my life for the last 20 years, like drastically. And yeah, that's thanks to you who's watching this. So thank you. I appreciate you. So I'm going to start with the podcast because it feels like the least important part. We just use this page to keep a track of the episodes we've done, possible titles or guess whether it's been uploaded or not. We don't take this too seriously at the moment. We're just doing it for fun, and literally our only goal for this podcast is to make 100 episodes. A lot of the episodes are really shit and rambly, but some episodes we've been told are really good, like the imposter syndrome ones. But yeah, there's nothing really that gets done on this on this page because it's basically just for fun. A more important part is actually the YouTube dashboard, and there are different pages with different topics and titles you can see here where I just take notes and keep stock. Like as I learn to do things, I just document the progress. I have a section for stream, and I can keep track of to-dos here, such as never fixing that broken transition because it's a part of us now. There on the other side, we have quick to-dos and obviously the infamous task list, which again, I will link to that video at the very, very end. I have a massive database of possible video ideas. I quickly created this one just to show you how it would work. As I have different ideas, I can write them into the idea column. Depending on what part of the process they're in, I actually just move it along the Kanban board. So at the moment, I'm filming the Notion tour, so it's here. Next, it's going to go into editing. Next, it's going to go into scheduled once it's ready. And then once it's uploaded, I will put it in here and it will disappear. However, of course, we're currently filming this, so it has to sit here. Like for example, for scripting, I'm doing a script on perfectionism where I've gathered all of my research and possible points, and I've even added in pictures for possible like the cognitive models, which I want to talk about. So that's all sitting in there. And yeah, I just move it along into like filming or editing depending where it is. So it's just nice to see a bird's eye view of all of the different videos. I only wrote 4 here, but I can tell you that the original database of this has over 100 videos, but I don't want to give you guys spoilers. So also each of the videos have like really complex templates, but I don't want to get into that, but it's a lot. It's really a lot, and it's not important. I just took those parts from other YouTubers and kind of like edited them to work my own thing. This YouTube dashboard is actually going to be getting a massive update pretty soon because I want to have it to be more reflective, as weird as it sounds, where I'm kind of really intentional with the videos I'm creating and the content that I'm creating. And we've also created a portion for TikTok where I'm going to be working together with my friend to make regular TikTok content. She convinced me, so I think that's going to be really fun. If you have anything you would like to see on TikTok or Reels or a question answered, please let me know in the comments, or you can always DM me on Instagram. I always answer every single one of my DMs. Might be a little bit late, but I will always answer it. So yeah, you can hit me up there if you have anything you wanted to know. Let's move on to the final and most important part in the content creation portion, which is the website. In case you didn't know, I got really sick of these websites in Italy giving out terrible and biased information to make money off of students or doing it for some sort of clout or fame. So I launched this website in 2016, but it unfortunately quickly failed as I didn't have the same organizational skills back then that I do now. But the good news is we relaunched it like 6 months ago, and now it's like a collaboration between students from different medical universities. We write well-researched and long articles to answer any question you could possibly imagine about studying here. And it's currently a work in progress, but like we're hoping over the next year we're going to have a lot more students that join us, and it's like really going to expand, and we're really excited about that. So on the landing page, we have quick links and announcements as reminders. We use Discord to communicate, but anything like more fixed goes onto the Notion page. We all have our personal areas where we take notes and do things how we like it, but there's a small to-do under each person's name so that everyone is kind of aware of what the other people are doing. It's kind of like an exercise in transparency. It's not necessary, but like we just kind of like having it like this. And we're hoping that in 1 year we're going to have a lot more students, so there's going to be a lot more names that are appearing here. If we go into my area, there's an ever-expanding list of tasks which get captured in my classic method. Again, I'm going to link it at the end, but you can see all of the tasks. There are the articles that I am currently writing. We have interviews that might be upcoming and like what status they're in. If the others have written an article and they change the status to waiting for review, it appears in this portion because I need to quickly read it and make sure that it's clear before it gets uploaded. There's then a brief section for possible upcoming article ideas, and these are shared databases. So if I decide I want to write an article on one of these things, I can just move it from there and no one else can then see it. And this is really handy because it just means that if someone's bored and they want to write an article, they can come to this database and start writing, and we won't have duplicate content because it won't appear for another person. Below that, I just have kind of like where I do brain dumps about like future features that we might want to implement into the website, and like maybe like different courses, and it's basically just like a draft area. So there's a lot, but this is like the most personal area to me, and it has absolutely everything I need to do. It's kind of like my personal command center. In interviews, we can see a list of upcoming ones, like if we found students or what stage of the process we're in. If we click onto a name, such as Maria, we have templates that are created here, so that if I'm not available to do the interview, someone else can jump in and know exactly what questions that they need to ask. If we click onto the articles page, we can see everything that's currently being written, what status this article has, and who is writing it. Below that, we have again our database of articles that are upcoming. Below that, the upcoming interviews, and each of the interviews has a very, very detailed and like lengthy written up portion. And to keep track of that, we keep that in the database below it. So for example, I've actually finished this, so this shouldn't be here anymore, but yeah, it's just to keep a track of, did we actually write up the interview? And below that, we have kind of like a huge overview of all of the articles we want to write for each of the cities. And yeah, you can see it's quite empty right now, but I'm feeling really confident that we're going to fill it within the next year. I'm feeling good about it. Okay, the final part, how I use it in my personal life. I promise we're almost at the end. I'm going to rush through the biggest three, but I have other things in here, such as a personal health history. And this is here because there is nothing worse than a patient giving you an incomplete medical history. However, I am so guilty of this when I'm a patient. Like, I always just forget important details and it's so incomplete. And I mean, hopefully I'll never have to use it in a serious situation, but just in case, I have a very, very detailed personal medical history here, and I can use it to reference it if I ever end up in hospital. Also other things such as like recipes or a food plan. But anyway, here I have a list of due chores. I have a chores list that all have a preset time frame. For example, hoover floors every week or change bed sheets every 7 days. And some people might say this is excessive, but as someone who used to have really bad acne, like, I am not taking any chances with my bed sheets. Meticulously tracking chores isn't so important, but it's just kind of a nice reminder if I haven't done something yet. Like, the better ones to keep track of are things like washing the windows or cleaning out the fridge. You know, the things that you do between once a year and never. I find this really handy because a lot of the time when I'm generically like, okay, time to clean the house, and you put on your best Crocs and you're ready to be a cleaning ninja, and then you have no idea where to start. And so this just gives me like an overview of what's kind of due and what I should start with. Next, we have kind of how I keep track of expenses. I keep very, very, very strict budgets because I am a very, very broke ass student. Anytime that I have an expense, I capture the cost here and what the amount was, what the bill type is. Was it rent? Was it like a bill? Was it for entertainment? Was it for YouTube? And being this strict just allows me to make sure that I am really intentional with my money so that I can spend it on important things like going out to lunch and dinner with my friends, or, that subscription that I could probably do without, but I really, really enjoy. Skillshare, if you're watching this, I could have plugged you here, but you haven't sponsored me yet, so please get on that. I really wish that someone had sat me down 10 years ago and explained what index funds and the importance of investing was. I really wish someone had done that, but instead of just regretting that I didn't start 10 years ago, I'm starting now, and to be able to kind of free up as much money as possible to put into investing, I need to be very, very intentional with all of the money that I spend. And just keeping a track of everything, just make sure of that. Now, we're gonna move on to the final part of the final part, which is, honestly, it's hard to explain. I would best describe this as a second brain, kind of like how my favorite YouTuber Elizabeth Phillips talks about. She recently made a video about it, but basically anytime I see or come across something interesting, I put it in here. And this can be a quote, it can be an article, it can even just be like a random connection or a thought that I had. And I think that Ali Abdal also talks about this in a Notion video I saw years ago, where he just captures things that he might want to make videos on later on. I just like capturing all of the cool and interesting shit that I've seen. And, you know, like, I just think it's really, really lit, and I like making connections between them. This to me is like one of the most important parts of Notion. Like, I just love knowing and sharing things and like adapting them to like adapting like perspectives of thinking to different things, and a huge part of that is capturing it in this database. You know, it just allows you to make like the oddest ever connections and interpreting the world in a different way and applying concepts to things you wouldn't have connected before. I called it profoundanity. It's meant to be like things that I've found profound, and also a play on the meme, you know, like,
what the is this? What's your profanity? Right, I'm sorry.
I know it doesn't really work, but I mean, I love it, so like, whatever. If you have any questions, you can drop by my live study stream, which I do on a different channel, and we do blocks of work together, and then we talk, and I can answer any questions, or we can play video games on the breaks, or, you know, whatever you feel like. And I'm also linking the other video where I talked about the capture and clarify method. Okay, I guess I can finally end this fucking video. See you in the next one.